Good afternoon, class. The nonprofit organization that I have chosen for this semester's project is the Place of Hope. The Place of Hope is a faith-based, state-licensed children's organization that provides services to high-risk individuals. They provide services to children and families who have fallen victim of abuse, abandonment, or neglect in the hope to provide them with the proper healing and opportunity. They are dedicated to providing stable, loving, and nurturing environments to support foster children while in the state custody, and following that, they provide family reunification, pre-adoptive placement, and post-emancipation from care. They continue to develop successful programs in order to meet the ever-changing needs of the children and the youth who come into their care. They are currently servicing over 1,100 children and families. The mission of Place of Hope is dedicated to providing a stable and loving family environment for hurting children and their families. They are committed to meeting desperate needs in the community by sharing God's love and placing hope in their lives one child and family at a time. They envision entrusting children and families in their care, strive to foster hope rather than despair, potential rather than limitations, healing rather than hurting, and belonging rather than isolation. They also want for what the future can be rather than what the past has been. The Place of Hope offers several service programs, which include family-style foster care, both long-term and emergency, family outreach and intervention, maternity care, human trafficking, and transitional housing. I'm going to go over every single one of those in more detail so you guys can have a better understanding of what each program entails. So starting off with the family-style foster care, these are situated within a safe and serene gated neighborhood which professionally trained live-in cottage parents devote their full-time talents and energies to no more than 6 kids in each home. So, Place of Hope believes that the smaller number of children in each home enables that the cottage parents are able to relate to each child on an individual basis, allowing them to learn about healthy relationships and promoting their healing. In a typical, foster style home, it is a 12-to-1 ratio, whereas here they're looking for a 6-to-1 ratio. They always want to try and keep, large sibling groups together, which is very good, and it's actually a federal law that they have to do that. And so what they do is, the children in the Place of Hope are offered stable, loving, and nurturing environments until they attain permanency, which would be, where their permanent residence is going to be, and it could take up to a year for that. And so, a typical foster care, the placement is often moved multiple times, to fit the need of the system rather than the need of the child. So they also offer family outreach and intervention. And so what this is they provide intervention programs that are aimed to support and bless children and families dealing with the traditional child welfare system, so any child that's involved within the dependency system. They want to meet emergency and family preservation needs, and they expand the ministry of the Place of Hope. And as I stated before, it's a faith-based nonprofit, so they really use their faith as kind of a driving force to what their programs are implemented on. They also provide, different programs, for food, clothing, furniture, and awareness of child abuse and neglect. They also have a prevention, and they have child advocates who are there through their Voices of Hope to help with children. Another program that I find very beneficial that they offer is the maternity care. So this is aimed towards, women and mothers to be that may need help, and they provide, professional case management, independent living, parenting classes, and access to medical care. They also provide residential care, supervision, health influences, and they want to meet the emotional, social, and spiritual needs of the women that come into care. Typically speaking, 1 in every 2 girls that spend time in foster care will be pregnant at least once by the time that they're the age of 19. So what they want to do is they have a family-style maternity home for girls, providing comprehensive care for young mothers and mothers-to-be. And it really helps these women kind of shape, the skills to be able to care for a child, because if they're in foster care, they may not have had that guidance growing up and to know how to be an appropriate caregiver to their child. Another important program that I find really awesome that they have is, involving human trafficking. Human trafficking has become a huge epidemic in South Florida specifically, with Florida being rating number 3 in the nation for human trafficking, and Palm Beach County ranking as the third highest county in Florida with the highest incidences called into the National Human Trafficking Hotline for suspected human trafficking cases. So I think it's important that they have implemented programs that, provide housing and, services for those victims of domestic sex trafficking. It's one of the forms of modern day slavery, and it takes a special person to be able to provide the services to these kids. And so they provide family care, case management, therapy, tutoring, mentoring, educational and physical, spiritual development. They have, various programs that I've listed below that offer help to those girls and boys, and they keep them situated away from other kids so that they're with, other victims because they're a little bit more high risk. Another program they offer is the transitional housing, which I think is awesome as well, because this is, fostered towards those individuals that are aging out of the system, so between the ages of 18 and 25. So they provide them with, life skills, and they have programs that serve up to 18 transitioning foster youth or those that have been emancipated from their family and other homeless youth, which again, I said, between the ages of 18 and 25. They have a campus that serves up to 28 youths at this time. They provide them with, life skills and trainings, and, it's a transitioning program for those kids that are coming out of the foster care system and having to, live on their own and use that skills to, care for themselves. So the Place of Hope is operated in Palm Beach County, and as I put their headquartered location, but they do have various programs scattered throughout Palm Beach County. Some of them are at undisclosed locations, like the Human Trafficking Home is only those that, work there and, law enforcement know where this place is. But they do have them throughout Palm Beach County specifically. So how they measure their impact is they ask a series of 5 questions, which are then charted so that they can see what the impact is. And so the following are the 5 questions. What is the organization aiming to accomplish? And what they've discussed is that 95%, what they want is that 95% of the students being promoted to the next grade level. They want 100% of the kids to improve a healthy lifestyle and avoid harmful behaviors. And they want 90% of the youth to change attitudes and behaviors of belonging and importance. So the second question is, what are the organization's key strategies for making this happen? And they want to provide tutoring, academic assistance. They want to engage these kids in extracurricular activities and engage them in at least 20 hours of community service. The third question is, what are the organization's capabilities for doing this? And so what their capabilities for doing this are that they want to give the children the better educational opportunities than most foster care children will get in a typical foster, style home. They want to provide consistent structure to these kids, and they want to have long-term enrollment in private schools. The fourth question is, how will they know if they're making progress? And so the impacts are charted by an educational coordinator, and they will use that as their means to, chart their impact. The last question they ask is, what have and haven't they accomplished so far? So the numbers that I quoted in question number 1, they've documented, and so what they've accomplished so far is that 100% of the children were promoted to the next grade level, which exceeds their expectation, and 100% of them improved their lifestyle and extracurriculars. However, only 76% of them changed their attitudes or behaviors rather than the 90% that they had wanted, so they definitely still have some work to do. So the reference that I used was the Place of Hope website, and I kind of went through their website and got some general information. I work for the Department of Children and Families, so I work closely with this organization on a weekly basis, and so I've been able to use my own personal accounts of working with them and knowing exactly what they do specifically with the human trafficking. So that's where I got my information.